This is Kakaaki Social. Welcome to Friday. I'm Rena Obozeghie. Now, from elsewhere in Africa, we begin this morning with Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera, who has, with immediate effect, suspended all foreign trips by government officials, including himself, as part of efforts to heal the country's economy. He also directed that all ministers who are currently outside the country to return home, and said that the suspension will be in place until March next year, which is 2024. Now, for extremely important trips, he ordered that he must give approvals himself.
All of us now have to make big adjustments in spending so that we can prioritize those areas that are most productive and stay the course until our economy becomes productive and profitable again. In making those painful adjustments, I myself have to lead by example. This is why, effective immediately, all of my international trips between now and the end of the fiscal year, beginning with my trip to COP28 at the end of this month, are canceled. By extension, I'm putting a freeze on all public-funded international trips for all public officers at all levels, including those in parastatals, until the end of the financial year in March. In fact, all cabinet members currently abroad on public-funded trips must return to Malawi with immediate effect. Any travel deemed absolutely necessary by anyone during that period must be submitted to my office for my personal authorization.
All right, that's coming from Malawi right there. Now, let's see how this met netizens on the space of social media. For Adeleke, it says, how it won't take happen for Nigeria. These people will be say, if headache, when need paracetamol, do them. Now, UK or USA, how they want to take cope. Also, in reaction, Ugochukwu says, good governance is not that difficult. However, it requires genuine discipline. President Chakwera's action underscores the intent of good governance, unlike the multi-billion dollars allocated for frivolities by Nigerian ruiners who enrich themselves with public funds. Ifama says Nigeria will stay in one place and all the crawling African countries will surpass them. They will be here claiming giant of Africa, all thanks to INEC and judiciary. We move away from that to say that in reaction to the Tinubu-led federal government claims that they inherited serious liabilities from previous government, a former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, has asked them to make public the degree of bankruptcy they mean, and they should be very clear about it. In a post that he personally signed on X yesterday, he says, one major characteristic of responsible governance is transparency and strict accountability. This demands that the government disclose exactly the degree of deficit they inherited. What is inherited should be disclosed to enable the public to know where we are and where we are headed. Recall that the previous APC government made a similar claim in 2015 against the PDP administration that handed over to them without telling the nation what it actually inherited. He says the present revelation also goes to buttress the argument that I've made since electionary season that the cost of governance is too high and must be drastically reduced. A bankrupt country should channel every available resource into funding critical development sectors like security, healthcare, education, and eradication of poverty by addressing youth unemployment, not spending in non-essential areas. So, what we expect are measurable and verifiable steps to improve the situation. Will be right there on X yesterday. In reaction to him, this user says they inherited a bankrupt country, and yet the best they could do in 5 months is purchase of yachts, SUVs, and distribution of billions as palliative among themselves, and even prayers. That's taking us back to the Red Chamber, where the Senate President told his mates that he sent prayers to them in their mailbox to have a good recess. For car, it says, please, sir, just ensure you don't give them any expo on what to do. Let them keep making a mess of themselves while foreign investors keep pulling out gradually. They expect you to dish out economic suggestions while they grab and run with it. More reactions is coming in from CI, who says, they them. Dadem, thank you so much, sir. Optimistically, you'll be in that seat in future. Let's continue praying for our father, City Boy, for long life, good health, and divine wisdom to fix some mistakes, for things not to be worse before you come to the seat. Thanks for your continuous effort. And finally, quoting the tweet is Yoruba Obedient, who is tweeting at Debbie Dimension, and she says, APC blaming the same APC. No be juju be that. Apparently, a question for you to answer. Consider it rhetoric. Now let's move on to another story where in Lagos State a video has surfaced online showing an Estonian man, a Guinness World Record holder he is, Jan Rose, slacklining, that's walking on a rope across the bridge and the trains at the train tracks at CMS bus stop in Lagos State, Nigeria. Now, the video, which has since gone viral, has taken majority of netizens by surprise, with many concerned about his safety and then the motive as well. But later in the day, it was revealed by the Lagos State government that the project is to showcase the beauty of Lagos State, and it will capture what they call the perfect Lagos selfie. And as a matter of fact, what we have right now is just the warming up phase of that project.
Yeah, it's almost there.
Okay, so let's see what happens by the time we have a good day or when they're done with their rehearsals, if we have to put it that way. K says Lagos is a destination of choice worldwide. Kudos to the planners and Mr. Governor Jide Sanwo-Olu for carrying on with the plans. For this user, Sir Enyine, it says, if na Nigeria now writes the Lagos State government for similar thing, una for frustrate the person ambition cause he's not white or he's not Red Bull. More reactions from Messi's first son, Remedy Cons. It says, person go just wake up like this, they try him God. And finally, which we should consider, if you ask me, is Southern Folks, who says, in a country where emergency vehicles can be in traffic for hours. Well, it is what it is right there. Now let's continue to say that a video on the internet is showing the moment some army officers are disciplining a civilian for wearing a camouflage knicker. Now, the man was asked by the soldiers to get out of the shot by himself and have it ripped.
Number one, you go explain tire. Remove everything as your pocket. Remove everything as your pocket. You go explain tire. Remove everything as your pocket. Remove everything as your pocket. No floor number one. Remove everything as your pocket. Everything as your pocket.
Can you see this inside motor? There is that motor, front of this motor. Carry on.
No man, I go explain tire. Remove everything as your pocket. Everything. Remove the nickel. Just remove them. Silently. Remove them. Oh, yeah, see it by yourself.
Seal it, okay.
See it sharply. Don't come out of the way.
Now, at this point, we will be going to what the law says about this, and then we have another reaction opposing this. Now, this user educated us on Instagram, and he says, here is what section 109 of the Criminal Code of Nigeria says. 109, any person who, not being a person serving in the armed forces of Nigeria, nor a member of the police forces, and with intent that he may be taken to be such a person or member as aforesaid, wears any part of the uniform of, or wears any garb resembling any part of the uniform of a person serving in the armed forces of Nigeria, or a member of the police forces, is guilty of a misdemeanor, and is liable to imprisonment for 1 year. He continued to say, any person who, unlawfully wearing the uniform of forces, etc., not being a person serving in any of the armed forces of Nigeria, wears the uniform or any part of the uniform of such forces, or any of the armed dress having the appearance or bearing any of the regimental or other distinctive marks of such uniforms, or not being a person holding any office or authority under the government of Nigeria or of any part thereof, wears any uniform or distinctive badge or mark, or carries any token calculated to convey the impression that such person holds any office or authority under the government, is guilty of any offense and is liable to imprisonment for 1 month or to a fine of 10 naira, unless he proves that he had the permission of the president or of the governor of a state, or wear such uniform or dress, badge or mark, or to carry such token, provided that this section shall not apply to the wearing of any uniform or dress in the course of a stage play or in any bona fide public entertainment. Any person who sells or gives any uniform or part of a or any dress, badge or mark, as in the last preceding section mentioned, to any person who is not authorized to wear the same, is guilty of an offense and is liable to the penalties prescribed in the said section. So that's the law right there. So what happened after then? I mean, if we have to take some lines from that, you would see that it also affects people that sell them. I'm not sure anyone manufactures all of those things. So what happened to them? And our parents that are army officers are just, okay, wear this and go. We are bugaing because we know someone in the army, right? But then this picture came back. If you missed it, it was before elections this year, where it was said Jagaban Army was inaugurated to be the foot soldiers of the president. You would remember that this uniform caused a total discourse for a long time. You know, there were cases of, okay, there are parts of army uniform in all of this. So what happens if someone or some people who are close to the president, as much as these guys are, did this and nothing happened to them, and then we are doing that to an ordinary person because it's someone from the street? But then it is what it is. Let's have just one reaction before we call it a day. Isaac says, I get the removal, but why tear it? I rest my case. So yeah, I rest my case too this week, and of course today. I'm going to see you again next week. Do have a nice weekend. Bye for now. Good morning, Adora.
Lots of interesting stories. I don't know if that thing that happened in Malawi can happen here. And I was going to ask you that, you know, just say, I'm no more traveling. You people will no longer travel. We want to keep the money back here. And, you know, plan.
Which country? Is it in Nigeria?
Nigeria. I'm hopeful. I mean, don't be that pessimistic.
Yes, I'm hopeful too, but the what is before us suggests otherwise. Because, for example, starting from the presidential yachts, I don't want to talk about the office of the first lady that does not exist. I made a post on that, and somebody was saying that if it's your husband that is the president, will you say same? And I said, okay, let's look beyond that. How about the presidential yacht, for example? We don't even have water.
Which they say the Navy took.
Yeah, it's for Navy, but we see that it's for cruise now. I mean, they have another name for Navy. So all of this put together, and Asobi has queried, make sure that the account, you know, be definite about the things that you inherited, so that we know, okay, this is the case. Because we cannot continue to have successive governments come and then they blame their predecessors because they said their accounts are not public, they inherited bankruptcy. Everyone in the cabinet is saying the same thing. So I don't know, we have to be deliberate, and whether this can work here, I don't know, maybe a prophet will say.
People that on daily, people are jackpot.
Jackpot, do you understand?
And, you know, opportunity while you're in government. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work or who the rule is going to, because there will be exceptions, Rena.
Where?
Absolutely.
In Malawi?
I mean, if we ever practice it in Nigeria,
oh, yes.
If you can, but here are the exceptions.
Absolutely. Because
those who make the rules may not to be part of the rules. You know what I mean?
If we don't obey court orders, what is breaking my own rule? What's there to break it?
And the Jagaban Army. I don't know what that, I mean, what, when you hear that, let's say you didn't see this on screen, when you hear Jagaban Army, what comes to you?
It looks like people who are battle ready to defend Jagaban. Like Nigerian army, they defend Nigeria. So if you hear Adora's army, there are people who are out there to ensure your safety. So that's what comes to mind.
What kind of principle will they adopt in ensuring his safety? I don't know if you know what I mean. I mean, it sounds very technical and literary. I mean, it's been long, but behind the concept, you also know there are certain very stubborn elements within the conversation. How can they, manipulate this to become something that perhaps, does not mean or look progressive at the end of the day?
At this point, may I say, if you ask me.
Okay, now this is the time you're taking. Okay.
I take a cue
1-0.
from you.
1-0.
No, it's actually 1-1.
Abba made Rena.